Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to a Binghamton University session specifically today on sustainability and some of the initiatives at Binghamton. We're going to get into the depth of it and also give a nice high-level overview of what Binghamton's all about. Throughout tonight, we have a couple special guests here and along with the admissions team. So I want to give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves so you know who you're going to be hearing from, and then we'll get right into what we're going to talk about. Now, my name is Craig. My last name is Broccoli. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions here for Binghamton University. Primarily, I'm based in the New York City area for Binghamton, where I've been working with students for the last 10 years or so, coming from the New York City realm. I did go to Binghamton. This is Binghamton right behind me on an early morning hour. As an undergrad, I studied mechanical engineering and then business for graduate school, though a particular interest in sustainability, which I am really passionate about tonight's topic. I'll let my colleague Christy introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christy Friedrichsen. I'm one of our admissions counselors at Binghamton. I also graduated from Binghamton in 2016 with my bachelor's in psychology. Unlike Craig, I am most of the time in Binghamton, but I do travel to Connecticut and Texas. I'm so excited to see all of you today for our discussion.
And Christy will be on the back end answering a lot of questions. If you have any specific Binghamton questions, she'll be there to answer some of those. And we have two special guests tonight. I'll start with one of our professors, Steve Ortiz, if you want to just do a quick introduction.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Stephen Ortiz. I am the Collegiate Professor of College in the Woods. I'm a history faculty member, but I'm here to talk with you about all the great things we do at College in the Woods with our students who are interested in the environment and sustainability. So welcome.
Yes, a perfect subject matter expert there. And then one of our current students, Brendan, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, hey guys, my name's Brendan. I'm a senior at Binghamton University studying environmental science and biology. And I've been lucky enough to be involved with a few different research projects that have a sustainability aspect to it, mostly biology. So I'll give that kind of research perspective near the end.
Thanks a lot, Brendan and Steve. Now, I'm going to share my screen here so we can all get hopefully a nice little visual perspective, optimize the appropriate pieces here so we can see what Binghamton's all about, in particular, in regards to sustainability. Now, as this loads up behind us, I do want to make this clear. Binghamton University, for many of you, this may be something you've done some good research on, or for some of you, something you're just starting to dabble into. We're a mid-size public R1 research university located in upstate New York, part of the State University of New York, which is a massive public system. But in our regard, as a research institution, we're charged with solving some of these bigger problems that we're dealing with in society. That's with a public side of the R1 research realm. Now, at Binghamton, we're relatively young. We've been on this sort of rocket ship rise in terms of rankings and academic regard, and truly an incredibly bright incoming student body every year coming in from all over the world. But we are passionate about our core. We started as a small private liberal arts college located right here on our main campus at Binghamton, with now 6 total colleges that make up the university. And there's a whole lot of focus about who we are and where we came from and sort of where we're going. But being relatively young, we're malleable, we're flexible. We're trying to be as relevant as possible. And again, on the public front, really trying to dive deeper into solving some of these bigger crucial problems that we're dealing with, particularly in regards to sustainability. Now, we're going to go through a few different sectors here tonight about where sustainability overlaps Binghamton. And I think it's important to sort of understand first the history part, and then, of course, where we're looking to go in the future. Now, again, being a relatively young institution, though, students actually have always had a strong voice on our campus. There's this sort of autonomous side to our student body, but even since when we started to grow, literally footprint-wise as an institution, students were in charge and vocal about how and where we can grow. And you'll notice that even as Professor Steve Ortiz mentioned about College in the Woods, one of our residential communities, we've added communities over the years that sort of nestle along what I'm going to tell you about, one of our special gems, our nature preserve. But students have been active, incredibly active, about how to embrace that, the natural world, and watch it restore itself to its natural sense, even over the years of where the land of Binghamton is located. But these areas and these initiatives include things like the no-mow wildflower areas, which are starting to pop up all over campus. We have nearly 600 acres of natural areas on our campus. So that's in almost 2/3 of our total 900 something acre campus. So it's a large chunk of the natural land that we have on our campus that our students and our faculty and our staff and our facilities are keeping monitoring eyes on, but preserving it and allowing it to restore itself. Now, that's, of course, including the 180 acre nature preserve, which we'll get into in just a little bit, but this was put into place through an active student campaign to keep that there and keep it from being developed into an athletics center or another residential community. So it allowed us to smartly grow on our campus. We've also instituted composting programs through our dining services. We have 14,000 undergrads. That's a lot of food being eaten. And then, of course, there is some waste from that. And this is something that's been an ongoing initiative and only growing, even into our local community, including the city of Binghamton, and supporting some of those local farms and urban farms and our own on-campus farm run by our students down at the bottom, the BU Acres farm, which is also growing as our student demand for that fresh local food grown in a regenerative way right there on our campus. Then, of course, thinking about this from another level of a student-driven initiative, the transportation options, whether you're talking about getting around campus or into the city of Binghamton, the bicycle share program that was brought about by our students, and also looking at other ways that we can make impacts with everything that we do on a given day, whether it's our engineering students or environmental studies students, the student projects that take charge and take light on our campus. Now, as I mentioned, there's some nice, not so hidden gems, because it's hard to miss when you're visiting campus to see this gigantic, nearly almost 200 acre nature preserve that's located right on the top part of campus. But that's in addition to some of the other natural areas that you'll find. But over the last 5 years or so, there's been an initiative and a new addition to our campus, which is Nuthatch Hollow. And it's about a 70 acre addition to our already 180 acre or so nature preserve that was a bird preserve and a great spot for bird watching, but was donated to campus for a particular new build. Now, again, our nature preserve is an area where students love to go for a hike, for runs, to relax, to explore nature. And as Brendan will tell you in a little bit, to do research as well. We have a lot of initiatives that happen back there, but I'm going to play a quick video about this new addition, Nuthatch Hollow, and hopefully this will play. Yes, I know we're getting out of the winter months now, but we'll get a little flashback to the winter time.
Walking around here, it makes you feel like you are a world away. It's a wonderfully secluded location with a great deal of natural beauty.
You open this gate and suddenly you're down into this valley. The valley has this amazing watercourse with hemlocks, a big pond, this huge space that otherwise you didn't know existed. And it was just sort of an amazing thing to see that there's this place that's just off of campus that has this whole world in it that provides an opportunity to go out and interact with it.
The site is a 75-acre nature preserve owned by the university.
This new piece of the university property that's a wildlife sanctuary and an outdoor laboratory. In the environmental studies program, students are sort of challenged to think about how they might want to shape the world around them. What Nuthatch Hollow represents in the context of environmental studies then is a place that we can look at how do we shape the natural environment around us to create a world that is sustainable for humans as well as the plants and animals that we live around here, particularly here in New York State.
So we're in the process of designing what's called a living building, and that building will house some classroom space, some research space, and also be able to be used for community outreach. There are currently 11 certified living buildings in the world. We're not going to be the first, but we are going to be on the leading edge. What makes this building unique even as a living building is that we are using the building itself to conduct research about energy and water, which means that the systems that we use may not be the same throughout the life cycle of the building.
What we're trying to do is build it to a standard that's far beyond what anybody currently does, to the point where the building isn't just doing the least bad, but actually the most good. I see this as a blank canvas for how do we build a building here that doesn't impact the water quality and the air quality of the plants around it. How do we enrich the water sources that are here to make sure that as we use the building on the property, we don't contaminate the water sources.
Everything that goes into this building has to be environmentally sound. And that's not just that it's non-toxic in its use, but also that it was non-toxic in its production and would be non-toxic in its disposal.
And the important part here is that students get to be engaged in that process and sort of see the conceptual learning turn into actual practice, the hub of activity for students and faculty.
This will serve as a model for how to live in harmony with nature rather than having an impact on it.
This will be really a showcase for this region, definitely.
And I just wanted to give us all a little snapshot into the future. So as Professor Carlippo had mentioned, the living building aspect here is something that we are super eager to get off the ground. There was a little bit of delay right now with the construction process, but this will be coming live in a short time from now, where we're going to put into construction the plans that have been decided upon to really put that living building as a model out there, which will be one of the early stages out in the world right now at one of the highest building standards. Now, the Environmental Action Learning Community is another new initiative that we have here at Binghamton. And this is something where, when you look at this from how Binghamton has grown over the years, we're constantly working to put together a curriculum and an outside of the curriculum focus on how our students can make a difference and learn together. So I'm going to invite, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and bring this back just so I could get it fresh. I'm going to bring Professor Steve Ortiz up again to talk a little bit about the Environmental Action Learning Community. And I'm also going to rotate through a couple photos here, if that's okay for everybody. So Steve, why don't you tell us some more about this?
So thank you, Craig. So it's really exciting. So College in the Woods is one of the residential communities on campus. And we are nestled right up against the nature preserve, right in the central part of campus. And in fact, so we decided to start this learning community. And a living learning community is where in your residential setting, you live on a floor surrounded by other people who share your interests, environmental action and studies. You live on the same floor, you take Introduction to Environmental Studies together, and you take a cornerstone course that a professor from the Environmental Studies program will offer. Last fall, in our first year, the course was on environmental justice, and the students took that class together, environmental classes, and then all the other classes they may take. This does not prevent you from taking all the other classes you may need for your major. It's open to any major. We do have a lot of interest from environmental studies majors and minors, but we are open to biology, chemistry, anything, any major, as long as you have this interest in the environment. And College in the Woods is a place to do this. Like Craig said, we're right here. You can see the pictures of our group walking through the nature preserve in the first weeks of this semester, where we went out, COVID and all, to pick up some litter that had been left over the summer in the nature preserve, and to clean some things out of the pond. College in the Woods takes environmental action very seriously because we are a community that was founded on environmental action. We are College in the Woods because students in 1970, which is the first Earth Day, right? So the year of the first Earth Day, and students protested the new residential community that was going to be built by clear-cutting a forest. And instead, because of that protest by the students of Binghamton, we were able to contract the footprint and build College in the Woods into the wooded area on campus, as opposed to being on top of it. And so it's a really exciting opportunity. I'm going to put in the chat the kind of link to the living learning communities at College in the Woods, where you can see the curricular component. But I hope there's questions about it. I'm happy to answer them. And also my email is on that link. Please feel free to reach out to me. It's something we're really excited about. And the environmental studies program is deeply invested into making this a rich experience for our students. And we are looking forward to continuing this into the future.
Yeah, thank you for that, Professor Ortiz. And I love that history twist there, that you can see that this is, again, part of the core of Binghamton, but that environmental action learning community is showing that future growth. And this is an excellent opportunity, especially if you are curious about this, but not quite sure how you want to approach that. This is what learning communities get to do. In particular, the nuances of this learning community, I think, is quite fitting for many of our students. So moving forward, I do want to talk a little bit and shed some light on the academic pathways. And there are many pathways at Binghamton when it overlaps with sustainability that you'll have to choose from. And you'll find that, again, in the world that we live in, this is going to be part of this bigger picture, that we want you to be prepared, but we also want you to be able to make the impact on the world that you're looking to make. But there is one pretty obvious one that tends to stand out amongst all of them, the environmental studies major. That could be environmental studies or environmental science, depending on how you want to approach that degree. This is giving you some opportunities to really hone in on these skills and the passions that you might have. It's certainly one of our most interdisciplinary areas of focus. And as even Brendan had mentioned, there's other ways that you can pursue a double major. Now, one thing that I do want to make clear about the environmental studies major, that they do focus on this idea of systems. And there's 4 major systems that we're talking about here: the ecosystem side, the earth system side, the sustainability systems, and then, of course, the economic systems. And that's that overlap and that interdisciplinary part that you'll find that students at Binghamton may be looking at this from many different approaches. Maybe it's policy reform that you might be interested in getting into. Maybe it's starting a sustainable business model for a startup company. You might want to overlap into some of our entrepreneurship courses. Maybe it's from the engineering perspective. You want to pursue a minor in essentially sustainable engineering, but there will be coursework through our environmental studies major that you can tack on to your degree. Just to name a few, and this is where a university tends to step forward with a lot of resources and options. And these are certainly there so you can master the content, but also learn how to do research and apply that research to a larger solution that you're looking to solve, whether it's individually driven by you as a student or partnering with our faculty on their research initiatives. Now, there's another level to all of this. Another new initiative at Binghamton is our master's degree in sustainable communities, which is truly an interdisciplinary approach to a master's degree level here. And this is where you'll start to bring fields together. I like to call this like sort of the icing on the cake of any of our undergrad majors, where now you can polish that off with a professional degree to really develop communities in a more sustainable way, to understand where people, profit, the planet comes together and really work towards pushing the cities of the future and our current cities today, big or small, to really take a better approach to incorporating the world and the earth at the same time. Now, there's another underlying fact here. This is actually, for the last 2 years in a row, Binghamton University has been identified as the top performer in the nation for sustainability research. Again, at the R1 research level, we are at the highest level you're going to get to, but across all of our spectrums of research, there happens to be a very wide approach and a very numerous approach to sustainability research. And that's one of the reasons why we were recognized for that performance from 2019 and 2020, and ideally going forward. But the research that we get to do covers many different disciplines. I do want to highlight a few of our newer initiatives that might not come top of mind when you look into sustainability, but is one of the driving factors of that future world that we're trying to build here, particularly when it comes to the initiatives happening within our Smart Energy Research Center and the Innovative Technologies Complex. Happens to do a lot with the physical sciences and our engineering programs, but we actually have the Northeast Center for Chemical Energy Storage, which in short means essentially batteries, particularly things like the lithium ion battery. One of our professors, Dr. Stanley Whittingham, won the Nobel Prize last year for inventing the lithium ion battery. And he spearheaded that research center, as well as a couple different energy startups that have moved to the Binghamton area to help store the energy that ideally can be generated in a renewable way. And that's another level of research that we have for the Center of Autonomous Solar Energy, which is in conjunction with our Watson College of Engineering and our Innovative Technology Complex. And then a whole lot more happening all at once. And that's actually going within the new facilities that we are touted as a state-of-the-art facility for a center for excellence within the state of New York to solve, again, some of these crucial problems that we're about to embark on, and we already are embarking in many cases, as we move forward as a university. So when we look at this from, I think, the most tangible next level for many of you as incoming undergraduate students, I do like to spark that curiosity. Some of you already have it going in you to understand what it means to do research. And research doesn't necessarily have to be in a lab coat with a professor. It doesn't always have to be out in the field. It could be a combination of both. But the idea here at Binghamton is our undergraduates have plenty of opportunities to do research. Now, particularly when it comes to research and sustainability, you'll find, again, based on that sort of driving notion of research and sustainability covering many different spectrums at Binghamton, our faculty will have different opportunities for our students. Brendan, I'd love to bring you up here now just to talk a little bit about your research, particularly when it comes to sustainability. And I know you work in the Undergraduate Research Center as an ambassador. So even if you could highlight some of the other areas of research that students can get into, but let's hear a little bit about your story, how you got to Binghamton and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I'll just start off with myself before I get into the Undergraduate Research Center. Like Craig said, many of you are going to be coming into college wanting to get involved with research, know that's something you want to do in the future. And I was one of those students. So when I came into the university, I knew I was very much interested in biology and environmental science. So those are the majors I chose. And then to kind of get into the research, there's a few different options for students. I kind of took not the recommended approach, but one of the options that is readily available for students is starting research through coursework. So in a lot of the undergraduate courses through the environmental science department and also the biology department allow students to conduct active research as a part of your course. So my sophomore year, that's kind of how I got started. I did a research project in the nature preserve, looking at soil communities within the scope of a semester course. And that kind of got me into it. And then the following summer, I looked for more opportunities. So I was able to be a part of the summer research immersion program, which is a full summer 10-week program where you conduct research with a faculty member on campus with a few other students, and it culminates in the production of a research paper and also a presentation at a conference. And then lately, I've been given the opportunity to conduct my own research, working with different faculty members. One of the projects I'm currently working on is looking at soil microbial communities and how they're affected by overabundant deer. As you can see that photo in the bottom, I'm sure you guys have all seen deer. And if you're coming to Binghamton, you're quickly going to realize that our campus is full of them. And that's not for a good reason. They're overly abundant due to lack of predators, and they can have really adverse effects on the forest community. So I'm kind of looking at that scope within microbial communities, which aren't often looked at. And then secondly, my most recent project is examining the effect of invasive species. So plants that aren't native to a specific area, but impose some sort of environmental harm or economic damage. And I'm looking at how they affect soil biological communities. So I've taken leaf litter from these invasive plants, put them in leaf litter bags, and they're scattered out throughout the nature preserve. And actually tomorrow, I'll be conducting my first collection of these bags to kind of see what kind of effects these invasive plants are having on the community. And then So that's kind of what I do as a research perspective, but I'm also a member of the Undergraduate Research Center. And the Undergraduate Research Center is the place that helps students who want to get involved with the research find those opportunities that are readily available on campus. I don't know if you want to go back to the last slide that kind of shows the Undergraduate Research Center. Yeah. So kind of as I mentioned before, there's a few different research programs that the school offers. So the first year research immersion program is something that incoming freshmen can be admitted to, and they'll conduct research for a couple semesters with like-minded students and a faculty member. And that usually culminates in future research projects, presentations at conferences, and also possibly publications. There's a similar program called the Source Project that works with humanities in research. So the first year's research immersion program is focused more on STEM fields, and the Source Project is the kind of the same curriculum, but with humanities. And what our office is really good at doing is getting students who are interested in conducting research connected to the faculty members who are looking for undergraduate researchers, and also providing them with monetary rewards through research funding, and also money to go attend conferences to present your research. So it's a really great way for students who don't know how to get started with the research as an undergraduate to really get their foot in.
Perfect. Yes. And I like that you made sure that our students realize that there's plenty of opportunities across your 4 years, even starting off in your first year. And before we close out, Brendan, I do have one specific question for you about your research. For those who may not be aware, why is it so important to understand the impact on our soil communities in regards to sustainability?
Yeah, so soils are very important. If you just think about it in the food perspective, all of our crops are grown in soils, and the communities that encompass those soils are really crucial in providing nutrients through decomposition and also helping those plants access those nutrients. Soils are also really important in the context of climate change. Soils are the second biggest sink for carbon from the atmosphere, second to the ocean. So a lot of that carbon that we emit often gets recycled back into the soil. So keeping the soil communities healthy can really help us combat climate change in the future. But yeah, soil communities are really important in general, just giving us those ecosystem services and providing us with beautiful natural areas that our campus is happy to have.
Excellent. I'm excited to see the results of some of your research and your future results wherever you decide to go next. I feel like graduate school might be on the horizon there. So,
yep, I'm getting some acceptances at the moment.
Excellent. So again, we're excited as an institution to see where our students end up going next. So this is that time. If you have any questions, certainly let us know. I know we gave a very brief overview of Binghamton, but in particular regards to some of our many different sustainability initiatives and focal points here. So any questions before we close out for the night? I know we just hit 8 o'clock here on the East Coast. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in, everybody. We have live Zoom sessions going on every single day. So if you have any questions that you want to ask admissions, we can point you in the right directions for that matter. Just go right on our main admissions webpage. You'll find our Zoom hours there. I do want to thank Professor Stephen Ortiz for joining us today, for Brendan and your research that you're doing as a current student, shedding some light there, and Christy for hopping on from the admissions front. Good luck, everybody, on your next steps. If you are an admitted student, great work so far. If you're a prospective student, keep exploring. That's what we're here for. So we'll see you all soon.
Bye, everybody. Good night. Thank you for being here.
Take care, everybody.